Hey up everybody and welcome back to the Audi Cycling YouTube channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at the UAE Tour, one of the only other World Tour events in the warm-up championship alongside the Tour Down Under. First things first, if you want to still get your wall charts, go and check the link in the description. It'll be the first thing in there. I think we're over a halfway mark now. UAE Tour, obviously we've got the Tour de la Provence rounding up, so if you want to go and fill out all the rest of your teams which you've done throughout the warm-up championship, then go and get your wall chart and that'll get shipped out to you ASAP. But taking a look at the UAE Tour today, we have it starts on Monday. We've got 7 stages. We begin, I'm not going to attempt even some of these names. Stage 1 should be a sprint, but we've got this kind of uphill sprint, probably going to be a bit like the Hatterdam back in the day, so maybe that might make it a bit harder for some sprinters, maybe a little bit favourable towards the punchers or even Pogacar, whose name will be very prevalent in this preview, and it's quite lumpy throughout the day, so it might be a bit of an interesting stage. It's also worth noting that on any one of the sprint days, obviously echelons can play a big part in the result. Stage 2, a time trial, very flat. Obviously, I think it was... Was it McNulty who won it last year? Team Emirates will do very well in this race, in this stage by and large. We've got the Jebel Jais, 19 kilometers at 5.6%. Generally not a massively selective climb. We've seen early attacks be successful from Aina Rubio, not last year but the year before, I think. But generally a bit of a sprint amongst GC riders, and obviously Pogacar will be the big favourite for that. Stage 4, we've got a sprint. Again, crosswinds can play a big part. Pretty much ditto for stage 5, ditto for stage 6, sprint. And then stage 7 up the Jebel Hafit, which will be the main sort of GC decider, I expect. But the main thing to take away is that we've got 2 uphill, like mountain stages. We've got 4 sprint stages, although this first one might be a little bit trickier. And then we've got 1 time trial. And that's definitely going to play into the sort of composition of your team. And Pogacar is 28 credits. George is making it a bit tricky for us. If you want Pogacar in your team, it's definitely going to limit your ability to have a lot of these mid-range riders. I think it makes it very hard to have, say, Malia, Coy, Milan and Philipsen and just have all the best sprinters. So George is definitely trying to divide our teams to try and force us to drop some of these people. I think that Pogacar is a good choice because, just a caveat on it, I think there's plenty of good value in the 6 credit riders. There's a lot to be getting at. So I think that you can create a good team with Pogacar still in there, because I think there's a lot of quality lower down. So I would recommend you take Pogacar for an easy viewing experience because he's likely to win. He could win the TT. He'll probably be like top 5 at least. And he's going to do very well on the 2 mountain stages. So realistically, he's going to get from those stages 100, well, that'll be 300, closer to 400, then 700. He could be getting 800 plus like KOM points as well. He could be getting 850, maybe, something like that. That's what I expect. 850, kind of 800 to 900 for Pogacar, and I think at 28 credits that's good. Anyway, enough of him. We then have a 10 credit jump down to Tim Merlier, who's 18 credits, European champion, very consistent, probably arguably one of the best sprinters in the world. And the great thing is that we have the top 4 sprinters in the world here: Merlier, Coy, Milan and Philipsen. It's absolutely stacked. Trying to pick them apart is really tricky. You could do it based on lead-out strength. I'd say that on balance, Merlier, Milan and Philipsen have the best lead-outs. Coy's is a little bit inexperienced, so you could say that maybe he's at a slight disadvantage. But really, the sprints are a bit of a lottery. But you would expect Malia, Coy, Milan and Philipsen to be up there pretty consistently. I'd say that on the first stage, because it's got that uphill sprint, that Philipsen, being a slightly lighter sprinter, might have a better chance. And Alpecin also don't have any GC contender here, so they can do like all hands to the sprint train. Whereas I think that Quickstep have got Junior Leclerc in there, Lidl Track have got Ciccone in there. Olav Koy, Visma Lisa Bike have like Thomas Gloag in there as well. So they've each perhaps got a little bit of a disadvantage on Alpecin, who have got a full lead out train. But these are really just like small minor points in the general sprinting game. They're all good choices. You're just going to have to get lucky. That's just a simple fact of the matter of it. You've got Carlos Rodriguez and Bilbao as secondary GC riders. I think these are both podium candidates. Bilbao especially. I'd say their TTs are comparable. Bilbao has finished on the podium of this race before, so he knows what it takes to be up there. I'd say that he's also got a bit of a better kick than Rodriguez, so for the minor places that might be important. So I would favour Bilbao just because he's a little bit cheaper and he can do most of what Rodriguez can do. And based on recent form, Bilbao is slightly better. So sorry, Carlos. The 14 credit riders, you have last year's winner in Lennart van Eetvelt. He should be looking to try and defend his podium. He doesn't have the greatest time trial, but honestly the rest of his GC contenders don't either, so it's not that big of a disadvantage. Again, I'd think it's fairly comparable to Bilbao, I'd say. So Van Eetvelt's also a decent pick, but based upon the fact that he doesn't have a time trial, his point scoring ability is limited to the 2 mountaintop finishes, and at 14 credits, you could say that's not the best value for money, especially when only 2 credits more you have Philipsen, who's going to be competing in 4 sprints. I know he'll get the end of Tour points, but let's face it, the top place is taken by Pogacar. He's not an absolute nailed on to beat Rodriguez and Bilbao. There's quite a bit of competition for the podium places, so the GC aspect is perhaps one you might want to just fully invest in Pogacar and then maybe skimp out a little bit more and go more sprinter heavy. That's how I'm seeing it. I'm not investing that much into a secondary GC rider. Jay Vine, he'll do good in the time trial, but at the end of the day, he is just a domestique for Pogacar, and I don't think there'll be that many assist points like I thought Comunitat Valenciana would bring. So I think that I'd stay away from Jay Vine personally. Not like in real life, just in this competition. The 12 credit riders, you've got a mix of the kind of second tier of sprinters and also some more GC riders who generally can't time trial that well. So you've got Bauhaus, Decline, Groenewegen, all good sprinters, and will be tussling it with the top guys, those top 4 for the for top 10 positions, for top 5 positions. Some days they'll get it right, some days they'll get it wrong. On balance, I'd say that Decline, he had a very bad Alula Tour, but he is a good sprinter. I'd say that him and Groenewegen, I don't know, Bauhaus can get up there as well. The thing, they could all have their good days, and they could all overperform on their budget. So honestly, again, your guess is as good as mine. In terms of lead out strength, I'd say that Declines and Groenewegen's is stronger than Bauhaus's. Bauhaus tends to do well when he's surfing the wheels, so his results are going to be more reliant on things being like going his way, being a little bit lucky. Whereas I think that Declines and Groenewegen's results could be more forged and planned through specific timing rather than Bauhaus's, which will just be, hope for the best, basically. GC riders, you've got Ciccone here. He can do very well in GC. He will just lack a lot in his time trial, so he'll be a top 10 candidate, but I think that his time trialing will make it hard for him to finish on the podium or maybe even top 5. He'd have to do an extraordinary job on the Jebel Hafid. Finn Fisher Black can time trial, so maybe he could be a slightly better choice, but I'd say overall climbing performance, he's probably not as good as somebody like Ciccone or Gal or Onley. At the end of the day, Willunga Hill isn't the most brilliant indicator of how he's going to perform on Jebel Hafid, for example. So he's a little bit of a risk in the overall climbing ability, but he gets the boost of likely getting a top 10 or possibly a top 5 in the time trial. Higuita, maybe he could do something, but he's a bit like Ciccone. He doesn't have the time trial, neither does Gal, so they're all really reliant on getting points on the mountain stages. Only I do like a bit more. He tends to do very well in the stages where it's a bit more punchy. I don't know, these aren't very punchy climbs. So the 10 credit riders, more sprinters in the shape of Andresen, Jakobsen, Milano. for example. Milano, again, he's a bit like Bauhaus. He's going to be reliant on just getting an absolute Hail Mary and getting the right wheel. But he has done well in this race in the past, so don't write him out. Bjerg will do good in the time trial, and then a bit like Jay Vine, he will finish. He was 15th in GC in this race last year, so if he does a good time trial, 15th in GC and the assist points, maybe he could get somewhere like 200 points, for example. Andresen and Jakobsen, I don't know, Jakobsen just isn't what Jakobsen used to be. It's very sad to see. He's going to pick up some top 10s, but I don't think he'll be the best value for money. The GC riders of Carthy and Castillo and Hurt and Riccatello and Rubio and whatever, Stora, they're just all, they'll be fighting for top 15s, at maybe a top 10. One of them might get a top 10 if they do a particularly good performance, but honestly at 10 credits, that's just not worth it. They'll be lucky to really hit something like 200 points, which isn't really worth it at this kind of cost. Tarling might well win the time trial, but he's going to have to do something more than that to be worth of 10 credits, in my opinion. Gerber Tayson and Welsford are good choices. A bit like, they're going to be very reliant, a bit like Milano. But I would say that Welsford is good value. He was very good in the Tour Down Under. And I think that Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe got their lead out quite well sorted. And I think at 10 credits, Welsford is very good value. I would argue that he could be worth 12 or... Yeah, I would definitely put him maybe at 12 credits or 14 possibly. I think he is worthwhile putting into your team. But 8 credit riders, some better time trialers in here like Amarai and Bissiger, but again, they really need to do more than just that one time trial performance to be worth it. Lead out men in, say, like Consonni or Aaron Gate, or you could call Gaviria a lead out man with how early he launches, Mr. 350 meters to go. But honestly, launching early, like Gaviria might do, yes, he might not win, but he might finish 6th place just through launching early. And at 8 credits, that's not that bad if he does it 3 or 4 times. So, yeah, Gaviria can be a little bit of a one to poke fun at because he launches so early, but he could be worth it. Harper, I think, is good at 8 credits. I think that he is on a similar level of GC candidate to, at least Higuita or Carthy, and he's 8 credits. He's got an okay time trial. I think that's decent. I would be considering putting Harper on. Keplinger is going to be a domestique for Bilbao. Lecerf obviously lacks the time trial, but maybe he could be okay in GC. Bart Lemon was 10th in this race in GC last year. Good all-rounder. I definitely think he could do that again. Malucelli, this will be the sprinter for Astana, so a little bit of a cheaper option there. Pellizzari, great young climbing talent, doesn't have a time trial, so yeah, really needs to do really well on those 2 climbs, and I won't put it past him. But they also have Finn Fisher Black, so you don't know who they're going to be going for. Romo isn't actually in the race anymore, so just watch out for that. Steinhauser, I think, after that Giro performance last year, where he did really well, won a stage, and got another 2 third places, I think this is a year where Steinhauser is going to be stepping it up in GC, and I think that this could be the race for it. So I think that he's one to really create a differential in your team. Tamanio, he might be the sprinter for Lotto. They also have they have another sprinter who's in the 6 credit bracket, so they might go for either or. So a little bit risky going for one of those. And the other ones aren't that great. They're kind of all lead out men like Walscheid and Van Poppel. Zwihoff, I think Zwihoff will just be supporting Pellizzari and Finn Fisher Black. Now into the 6 credits, which I'm really excited about because there is a lot of good value for money here. Nikis Arndt, I don't think, is in the race anymore. So we have the under-23 world champion in Nicholas Behrens. I think he will just be a lead-out man, but worthwhile pointing him out anyway. Chavez, he might go a top 20 in GC. It depends if it's Steinhauser or Chavez, who's the GC rider, or Carthy. But Chavez was 11th in the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race, which was pretty good. I thought that was a good showing of form, and I think that Chavez could be taking a bit of a step up, and yeah, top 20 could be possible. Stefan de Scheutenier, this is the other sprinter for Lotto. I honestly thought that he could be a 4 credit rider, but George has done his homework. I was hoping that the number of competitions might mean that this guy would slip through the cracks, but he hasn't. George is very vigilant. I like him. I think that he could be cracking the top 10 2 or 3 times, and I think that 6 credits, that's decent value for money. There's also there's Conforti for Bardiani, but there's also Zanocello. So we've got 2 sprinters. They're very good when it comes to a race in like Tour de Langkawi or Tour of some, like a Chinese race in the Asian scene. They are really good. They absolutely demolish there. Whether they'll demolish in the UAE Tour, I don't know. This is a different kettle of fish. I'd say Thomas Gloag, very safe. He could be top 10 GC. And at 6 credits, that's really good value for money. He's the same value as he was in the Tour Down Under, and I think he was really good value there, and I think he's going to be really good value here. Loon Hederhots, he could be getting the top 5 in that time trial, plus the assist points on Pogacar, so he could be seeing 150 points for sure. Dan Holer, a good time trialist as well. So again, that one time trialing stage, he could get you some points. Kogut, he'll be the sprinter for Israel Premier Tech. He won a stage of the Crow race last year. He beat Christoph and Milano and Welsford in a sprint, and he's 6 credits. So don't go missing out on Oded Kogut, because he is zippy. I'll tell you that. Rasmus Søjborg Pedersen, the current Danish champion. I think he'll be the sprinter for Decathlon. I don't see anybody else on my team who would be doing that. Is he the fastest sprinter on a flat stage? Probably not, but he could be cracking the top 10, a bit like De Schoitenier. So I think that he's quite good, and I think on stage 1 that uphill kick will be even better for him. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Rasmus can do. Johan Price Peterson, again, another one who'll be doing well on that one time trial stage, and that's about it. Although he will get assist points on Philipsen, so he might get a little bit more. Dusan Rajovic used to ride for Bahrain Victorious. He does decently in sprints. He, again, might get a couple of top 10s throughout the week. But here's the big one, people. Paul Césars. And I'm hoping that you guys know who this guy is. Because if you don't, well, you're going to. Because he's the new French Tour de France winner, pretty much. He is the real deal. He's going to be the GC rider for Decathlon, I hope. You're not going to see him many times this year. And I can almost guarantee you that after this week, he will never, ever be 6 credits again. So you may as well pick up this wonder kid whilst he's still cheap and people don't know about him, because Paul Césars is the absolute real deal. And you need to be picking him. I was actually giddy with excitement when I saw that he was 6 credits. So please pick Paul Césars, please. And other 6 credit riders, Van Hoke possibly. He was sprinting to some top 10s in the Great Tour of Huangxi last year against some serious competition. There is Gerber Tayson here, so I expect he'll be just a lead-out man. But you never know with these things. And Florian Vermeersch, a bit like Hedda Hots, could come top 10 in the time trial, and then we'll get subsequent assist points from Pogacar. If you're wondering how many assist points that might be, it will probably be about 50-ish, I would say. There's Zanocello, the other sprinter for Bardiani. Zieglard is a very good prologue rider. I'm not sure how he'll go across the 12-kilometre time trial. Generally not that great. And the 4 credit riders, I would advise you to stay away from them like the plague. Because I just don't think that any of these are any good. I have looked through a lot of them. And generally, okay, you could go with Kluckers. He might get a top 15 in the time trial, but I would seriously recommend that the amount of talent that's in the 6 credit bracket, that you should try to avoid the falls and just set 6 as your minimum. That would be my recommendation for you. Obviously, there's some which I may have missed here, so be sure to put them in the comments if there's anybody who you think deserves specific attention. But this is my team. I have Pogacar, Milan, Philipsen, Welsford, Gloag, Kogut, Rasmus Søjborg Pedersen, Rune Hederhots, and Paul Césars. I really like it. I haven't... No, that's a lie. I've made one alteration to this team. I've set this team. I previously had... Who did I have in here? I had a different 6 credit rider. It might have been De Schoitenier. But I have very rarely set a team, and I'm absolutely dead happy with it. And I am with this team. Yes, I miss Merlier and Coy, but you just you have to. If you want Pogacar in there, you have to. And I went with a belief that Milan, also I forgot to mention this earlier, he can do a good time trial. So on that TT stage, he gets like an extra bonus there. Philipsen, I just think he's got the pure lead out here. I think stage 1 suits him a bit better. He's good in crosswinds. And I would say that on balance, yes, I know that Merlier he's just 2 credits more. And I feel like he's 2 credits more, but isn't necessarily... He's on the same level as Milan and Philipsen, so he's 2 credits more, I think. I'm not really affording that. Welsford, I just think, is really good value for money, and I've stacked up on just so many 6-credit riders. You've got Cesas and Glogue as 2 GC riders. I've got 2 sprinters in here as Kogut and Deschuytener, or Pedersen, or... I've got Header Hots in here, but I might honestly go with Rasmus and just stack up with a lot of sprinters here, and just go with something like that. That could very well be my team. Will it be the winning team? Who knows? But put in the comment sections down below what you're thinking in terms of any riders I've missed. And I also want to know who you've got on your team. And all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Salut.